of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the October 12th, 2017 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair of the commission and represent District 3 alongside Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1, and Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. First item of business, please.
Unfinished business. Number 1, discussion and consider approval of Home Rule Resolution number 2017-4, adopting the Shawnee County Comprehensive Plan, second reading.
I have asked the county councilor to be a repository of concerns and questions regarding the proposed comprehensive plan and to guide us on our way forward with the plan. So I will turn it over now to the county councilor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor. Yes, since the last meeting, I have drafted, and it's complete, a different resolution. It's substantially different enough from what was in the agenda packet last week that my recommendation would be to defer this matter to Monday so that we can publish the new draft of the resolution, give everybody an opportunity to take a look at it, digest it, and then put it on Monday for your consideration.
I think that's a good idea. Obviously, a lot of people showed up this morning, so let's give them a sneak preview of what we anticipate happening on Monday, if you would, Jim.
Well, the draft that I've made, and of course we're not taking action today. There's been no decision regarding final action, but the draft that I made is a draft that would send the proposed plan back to the Planning Commission for further consideration, and provides details like a time frame for them to do that, and provides a mechanism for outlining questions and concerns that you may have for the plan, each of you individually.
Yeah, I have. I've reviewed what we're calling Exhibit A, and it is a full 8 pages of comments and questions that need to be addressed as we move forward. So, Commissioners, do you have comments or questions?
No,
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
Obviously, there are people that are here today.
Sure.
If they want to maybe make a comment, I'll open the floor to them.
Absolutely.
I know that, again, this is a busy time of year for a lot of people that are taking time out to be down here, but I think that I have many concerns about the comprehensive plan as it's presented, and I think that when it comes time, my recommendation was to be sending it back to the Planning Commission for some of those considerations.
I agree.
I would
Commissioner
just
Bueller.
say, even at the Planning Commission level, there was some discussion about amendments, and then they chose not to make any amendments to the plan and send it to us in its current form. So I think sending it back to the Planning Commission is a good idea. Clearly, we've heard from a segment of the population that does not agree with the current proposal, and we ourselves, submitted several questions to Jim. So it's a process, and so I think sending it back to the Planning Commission would be a good idea.
Before we take other public comments, I have a quick statement to make. In my opinion, the proposed comprehensive plan is deeply flawed. The public has raised concerns that the draft Shawnee County Comprehensive Plan is heavily bureaucratic, anti-growth, anti-private property rights, and subordinates county priorities to the priorities of the city of Topeka. After reviewing the plan, I can understand why these comments have been made. In general, there are many recommendations, but little practical guidance. Priorities are stated without substantial evidence of how they were established. There is little discussion of project times, timelines, manpower assignments, accountability, or cost. In my opinion, we must have answers to many of these questions before we can gain necessary public support for the plan. I support returning the plan to the County Planning Commission in order to gain additional information in the areas that we're going to have in Exhibit A. Planning is important. It is also important that plans be built on a solid foundation of information with clear goals to achieve. It is my hope that the issues and questions that we have been raised in Exhibit A will serve to develop necessary information and sharpen our vision for a comprehensive plan. Without this additional information, I am not sure that the necessary public support for a comprehensive plan can be achieved. This plan cannot be something that is forced unwillingly upon property owners by the county, but rather should be supported by the public as necessary for orderly and reasonable future development and worth the expected cost. So again, I support sending it back to the Planning Commission, and I think, if I recall correctly, the time is going to be 180 days for reconsideration of the Planning Commission.
Given the amount of information and questions that I received, that's the amount of time that I'm recommending. Obviously, that's for you to ultimately to decide when you consider the resolution.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Now, if anyone would like to make a public comment regarding the plan in our discussion. Yes, Commissioner, did you?
Commissioner, if we might, I know that Barry had made some comments to, Barry, I'm looking to you, your memo that was included in the packet. Do you want to address any of those items at this time? Okay.
Commissioner Archer.
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
Just along those same lines as you had, I found also the comprehensive plan to be based on anecdotal statements, very broad in scope. The plan does not set forth any analytical data, scientific studies, references to other comprehensive plan, or industry data. The submission of broad statements gives the appearance of bias, which I view it as an attempt to get the comprehensive plan to arrive at a predestined result. I would have expected, for the amount of money that we expended on this report, that we would have correlations to other studies, other data, other comprehensive plans, and that just wasn't there. Additionally, the comprehensive plan fails to establish basic operational definitions, such as what is prime farmland. By failing to set forth a standard for development, if this plan was to be adopted in its current form, Shawnee County, in my opinion, is no better prepared to address developmental needs for the future. The comprehensive plan only sets forth additional cost for staff, additional expenditures for funds and zoning changes, CIP, code development, and regulatory control. And the areas of the plan that I do support is I do support identified county growth areas. I do support the interrelationship of the extraterritorial jurisdiction, cooperative agreements as to how the city of Topeka and the Shawnee County are going to grow, labor force development, workforce, economic development, and those are the areas that I do support. And based on the foregoing, I would recommend the comprehensive plan being returned to the Planning Commission.
All right.
Are you ready?
Well, I don't know if there's anything else.
Let's face it, I don't know either.
Thank you for coming today, and I mentioned last week or earlier this week that the more public input we get on any particular issue is the better decisions we make regarding those issues. So thank you for coming today, and please give me your name and state your position on the issue.
Okay, thank you. Do I need to move this
Probably.
down?
Just a little.
Well, my name is Evelyn Davis, and I'm a lifelong resident of Shawnee County, and I've resided in the rural area of the southern portion of the county on a small farm of approximately 90 acres. And while I don't work the land, it's rented out to a local farmer. And I look at the world population increase. Farmland will become ever more vital. Farmland isn't something we can go out and create when we need more. It's just not there. And I looked at the American Farmland Trust for some data, and it states that America is losing 40 acres of farmland per hour to development. That would mean my little piece would be gone in 2 hours. 24 million acres of farmland has been developed in just the last 30 years, and 37% of our developed land across the United States has been converted in the last 3 decades. So we're eating it up at a really fast rate. This rate of conversion obviously is not sustainable in the future. Farms generally create more revenue to the government than they demand in services, so protecting farmland is not a burden to the government. The role of government is to promote the general welfare, and how can we do that? How can the government do that without a plan? The demographics are very telling in the reports in the plan that Shawnee County, outside of the city limits, has had the bulk of the growth. And that is not true in the other counties nearby. Riley, Douglas, and Sedgwick were compared, and those counties all have comprehensive plans. It's not in the long-term best interest to allow sprawl, which is more expensive for government to maintain infrastructure and does not protect our natural resources and best farmland from haphazard development. To ensure that Shawnee County is a good place to live and work, wise planning and enforcement are necessary. If there is additional costs in terms of hiring staff to implement and regulate it, that will be money well spent in the long run to protect property values and ensure equitable services and minimal expense, and to ensure that prime farmland is treated and protected as the valuable resource that it is. Many hours of work went into developing this plan, as well as a significant amount of money, which you have alluded to. It would be wasteful to just discard this plan. And if there are parts that you don't feel, as you have indicated here today, that needs to be adjusted, then please send it back. Don't waste the money that's already been expended. Don't miss this golden opportunity to put in place a clear, cost-effective strategy for going forth in Shawnee County. And I want to thank you, Commissioners, for having the foresight to hire the consultants and the Planning Department, as well as their steering committee members that developed this plan. Please don't waste all that time, money, and hours that have gone into developing this much-needed comprehensive plan that, in my opinion, is long overdue in Shawnee County. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Evelyn.
I brought these.
Great, thank you. We went to the clerk too, so, no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come right up, sir.
I'm Carl Hubner. I live in northern Shawnee County at 8633 Northwest Landon Road, and I have a concern about this exclusive farmland use where you couldn't build more houses on the farm. You know, some people have some pretty large farms. If they can't build more houses, if you can't split it up and whatever, I don't know how this plan actually concerns that, but there was a deal that I saw that's been about 25 years ago when I visited my son in Columbus, Ohio, where they had a deal where they set it up for a plan for like exclusive use farmland, and a couple years later they was going to put in a bypass around the north side of Columbus, and that instead of just taking the eminent domain for the road to go in around on the north side. They did it through an investment company and a contractor to build the highway, and they got to purchase the land at exclusive farmland values for like 1 mile on both sides of the highway, which these farmers had to sell at farmland value. And then the investment company got to make millions on it. So this, when you start a plan, where does it end? That's my question. What stops this from happening, from basically taking the farmland for a real low value from the people and then have had it in families for years and turn it into something like that? That, to me, seemed like corruption. But anyway, that's the concern I had with this. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for giving, thank you for giving us time today. I'm Marge Ahrens, and I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Topeka and Shawnee County. And you might be remembering my face from the many times that I spoke to you about designating funds, considering a comprehensive plan, the importance of comprehensive planning, and I'm happy to be here today. I will make my remarks short and different because of your motions, which I very much respect. And just by the gentleman speaking a moment ago, I understand more and more the complexity of the issues that you're burdened with. The League of Women Voters, you know, has been concentrating very heavily on voting rights, money in politics, protection of natural resources, citizen participation in government, equal rights, transparency in government, conservation, and all of them relate to something like a comprehensive plan. In addition, the local league has since 1983 studied and had a position on in support of comprehensive planning, including land use, economic development, and all the public services we need and we're trying to pay for. So we spoke out to you and to the Planning Commission, the City Council, JADO, on the importance of planning in our community over the last few years. And when I was thinking about this week, I found in my files a picture of Ben Marple at a Planning Commission meeting in what year? 2012. He must be as tired as I am. There's half a face of me there behind him. I probably cut it out for two reasons. One, because I was speaking to the Planning Commission about economic development planning, and the other, of course, is that was the day that the House passed the voter restriction bill. So I've got this if anybody is interested in history.
Tim Richard probably is.
We thank you for designating the funds for this plan. We appreciate the quality of its data, even though it's inadequate as you speak. It does focus on some best practices and concentrates on the long-term good. Conservation is evidenced in the plan's focus on saving our natural resources, our public services, and our tax money for all our county residents into the future. The plan recommends wise development and upkeep of infrastructure and services in contrast to services stressed by scattered development. And look what happened when we didn't plan for roads. It outlines and elevates our irreplaceable natural and historical treasures to their appropriate status and provides a framework for you to both lean on and uphold under the common pressure for development. A community without a plan is, in the end, a place where no one can count on the protection of their investments. Not speculators, not businesses, and none of us who choose to live here. The loss of metropolitan planning was a devastating blow to this county. It occurred over the proposal of one developer who was denied to build on a wetland within the 3-mile purview of the city. The community gave to that one business the power to set back the clock on countywide planning for 14 years. Now we are the last county in the area to develop a plan. Even though you speak of its inadequacies, it does come out of thousands of hours of expert research, documentation, public meetings, and volunteer citizen study and consensus. We do look to you for leadership, discipline, vision, and courage. No property owners have the right to expect either total freedom or multiplied gains when those freedoms cost the community the loss of irreplaceable land and water, or stress public protection, health services, infrastructure, and taxes. We need to profit together by purposeful conservation and improvements that attract and keep us here. Lead for the benefit of every resident in our county. Let's build a better community for us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd like to make a comment after that statement, and she's very good. In regards to that article, at that time, the Planning Commission was trying to rezone 4,000 acres, which included some of mine. You got to understand how frustrating this is for all of us rural residents. Now, they did an about-face, and we no longer can even get a permit the way it sounds to build a home, or I don't know, it's just the wrong thing. Who's going to determine whether it's prime ground? We're harvesting corn yesterday. It was making over 200 bushels to an acre. It's phenomenal what's out there right now. But there's a whole lot of land that isn't real productive. And pasture land, a quarter section, your taxes probably run $2,700 to $3,000. If someone builds homes on it, they can still rent out some of the grass in the back, and those homes can generate a lot more. This will hurt the small townships and some of the towns, in my opinion. And I've said too much already, and I want to sit down.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Alan Rivlin, I'm an Anokan trustee. I just want to thank you for sending this back. Appreciate you guys' efforts in it. Thank you for listening to the people. That doesn't happen all the time. And so I really want to say just thank you very much. And can we get a copy of this Exhibit A?
Yes, it will be in the agenda packet for Monday.
So it'll be on the website?
Can we get copies?
Okay.
Now,
All right, thank you very much.
okay, thank you.
I'll see if we can't put it on the county's website in addition to putting it out through the normal process for when items are published for the next agenda.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Commissioner Bueller.
Again, the Exhibit A is what, three questions,
Well,
three
in
of
the-
us had questions.
And the
Are
county
these-
counselor had questions too.
Okay, so it's a combination then?
Right.
You put that together?
Right.
The four of us then, okay. Just want to make sure everybody knows what Exhibit A is and how it's developed.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner.
It identifies specific sections of the plan with questions related to statements in the plan and issues and recommendations. Okay?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner, for that clarification. Good morning.
Morning. I am Lee Palmer. I own some of the family farm at 7432 Southwest 103rd Street. This is not about preserving farm ground. It is about rich getting richer. Housing developers want this. Real residents own the land and pay taxes on it, but Shawnee County government will tell you what you can do with it. This plan is un-American. It sounds more like something in Russia and China than it does America. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anyone else for a public comment on the comprehensive plan. Yep. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jim Kaup. I'm one of your steering committee appointees on the comprehensive plan, and I know I came here to ask you to either to adopt the plan or to send it back to the Planning Commission with instructions on further consideration. And I understand that's the likely scenario here, so I'll just take 1 minute of your time. But I do want to tell you that there was a lot of work put into this, a lot of effort. I have worked with cities and counties around the state for many years, specifically on land use matters and planning and land use regulation. I worked with the League of Municipalities as special counsel to the Association of Counties for a few years. And in my private practice, I've worked with, again, with cities and counties. I was 7 years on the Metropolitan Topeka, Shawnee County Metropolitan Planning Commission. And when they split, and a long story there, but when that happened, and Shawnee County created its first ever planning commission, I was on that first ever planning commission, and I served 2 terms as the first chair of the planning commission. The reason I mention that, Mr. Chairman, is that this is back in 2003, 2004, and one of the first orders of business that we took up as a planning commission on our initiative was to explore the possibilities of developing a comprehensive plan. So we, as the planning commission and the Board of County Commissioners who received our recommendations, would have some touchstone, some point of reference as we were making recommendations to the board on land use decisions, rezonings, subdivisions, approvals, and so forth. We did not have a document in front of us that's articulated the county's policies regarding growth and development. And so we went around the county. Barry will remember this. We had a series of meetings on our own, went around the county, talked to township officials, school board officials, water district folks, other representatives of special governmental units in the county, and we received strong support, not for the details of a plan, but for having a plan. There was a consensus among the local government officials, and we didn't have public hearings on this. These were meetings with again, school board members and folks like that, that there was a strong consensus, strong support for having a plan. Folks thought that the county, now that it's separated away from the Metropolitan Planning Commission, ought to have its own planning document and its own articulated set of policy goals for growth and development. Well, we had some support on the Board of County Commission for going forward on that, but not enough to make it happen. So the enthusiasm dropped off. And now here we are 12, 15 years later. It is time to have a comprehensive plan. I know folks can argue and debate about the details of the plan. That's the way the process is supposed to work. But there is a need for a plan. And I would just, for one more moment, just to put a plug in for some of the things that I would ask you to look at as you're critiquing the plan that I think are, to me, in my opinion, are extremely important. One is to approach the issue of preservation of ag land. I grew up on a farm. I'm 6th generation Kansan, and I've lived in unincorporated Shawnee County for 16 years. Okay, I believe that the preservation of ag land, however that prime land is defined or whatever is set out in the plan, or ultimately in land use regulations for the county, that's an important policy objective of the county, is to protect, preserve agricultural land to some degree, to some extent, under some criteria. Secondly, I think it is very important, and this runs throughout the comprehensive plan, to encourage efficient economic development through land development, through promoting and encouraging growth to occur in the unincorporated area where you have existing or planned infrastructure. That's just kind of planning 101, good government 101. You help encourage, promote development to occur where the infrastructure exists or is expected to exist as you make your capital improvement plans. Okay. The third thing, I know this is a hot button issue for a lot of folks, and I think it's something that needs to be talked through more and explained more, is how to deal with the 3-acre plat exemption. That has established a pattern of development in this county that can't be undone. I think there are large swaths of the county that are committed to that pattern of development, both in terms of lots that have developed and lots of record, which you aren't going to do anything about. I mean, you won't do anything about. They are there. And there are thousands of those lots. And so that pattern of development has been established across large areas of the county, and it will affect, I would say, impair the ability of the county to continue to grow out at not even at urban levels of density, but even suburban levels of density. So I hope to come back to you after the product comes back from the Planning Commission. I appreciate you allowing me to take just a couple of moments of time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Elmer William Hubner, 6237 Northwest 94th Street. I have several ground up north, and I've also decided a long time ago, when the first attempt to this to happen, to go ahead and plot out 2 plots, and I decided that I didn't want them 10, 20, 30 acres. I wanted it to be just above the 3-acre limit, because that would be enough for my kids to come back. And I think it's very important that if my kids want to come back to my family farm, that they could and build a home. And so I got 2 3-acre plots. They're 3.3 acres. So I would think that it would be very imperative that for families who've got a farm and their kids would think that they'd like to a little later on, they're right now in Kansas City working in business, could come back to the family farm.
We need to have a plan, and I agree we need to have vision. That's just the way life works. My concern, and what I'd like to reinforce to the commission as well as the planning committee, nobody cares more about the ground than the guy that owns it. Nobody works harder to preserve it. I've got ground in my family that was homesteaded in the 1860s. I think I'm probably the 7th generation to come off that ground. We care. This proposal as it stands seems awfully heavily handed with the committee making decisions about my ground. Nobody can make better decisions on that ground than I can. I may seek help, I may seek advice, I may seek counsel, but in the end, nobody's going to make a better decision than I do. I've got 4 children. The way that resolution stands as I've read it, which is quite a chore to read, one of them could build on the farm. I think that is awfully heavy-handed and really out of the jurisdiction of the county's business versus mine. I hope they consider that when they redo the plan. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for your comments. They're appreciated. Is there anyone else for discussion? Is there anyone from the Planning Commission here today? No one from the Planning Commission here today. Okay. Okay. Additional comments, Commissioner Cook?
I don't have any additional comments. But I agree that, we should defer this then to Monday with the substitution of a new resolution from the county councilor for consideration.
The only question would be, will that require 2 readings or just one? Just one? So no action today, but action on Monday. Okay. All right. Do you need a motion to defer then? Is that the appropriate motion?
I'll make a motion to defer till Monday, the 16th, with anticipation of a substitute resolution from the county councilor's office.
I will second.
Motion to defer until Monday consideration of the home rule resolution made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. At this time, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today, making your public comments. I'd like to also thank the county councilor and the other commissioners for the seriousness of which they've taken this project. And I think you will see when you review Exhibit A in the depth of the questions and concerns that we have, the seriousness that we've taken this issue. So, next item, please.
Number 2, consider approval of request to award fire alarm systems testing and repairs to Heartland Alarms for 1 year with possible annual extensions up to 3 additional years for various county facilities with funding from facilities maintenance, elections, health department, and parks and recreation, and authorization and execution of contract C-320 2017 for same.
Good morning,
Let's
Commissioner.
give it just
Okay.
a minute. I should have waited
Sure.
until the...
The other primary fire alarm user, and several of these sites have already been tested by Heartland Alarm, so we're not changing much. We're kind of adding some people on who've been missed over the years. Be happy to answer any questions you might have on it.
Questions for Bill this morning?
I don't have any.
I'll move approval of the
Second.
contract.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
You, Bill. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
There are 7 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments?
Okay, then I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
New business, A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,251,394.67. The highlights are Capers contributions of $303,335.88, holding accounts with the State of Kansas Department of Revenue for $608,549.59. We have Department of Corrections for $88,003.78. Infrastructure payment to RD Johnson Excavating, this was the Timber Ridge subdivision, of $71,402.60. And then finally, AM Coron and Sons for $41,129.36. If you have any questions, I would move for its approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the voucher payments by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please, Cindy.
Number 2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve correction orders by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Human Resources. Number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2017-55, setting the Shawnee County Local Health Department Director's compensation at $110,480.22, including benefits.
Good morning, Commissioners. Last week, as you just heard, you appointed Linda Oakes as the Local Health Department Director, and we'd like you to go ahead and approve her salary, including benefits, at $110,480.22.
I'll move to adopt the resolution, and again, congratulate Linda. I look forward to working with her and moving the health department forward.
Thank you.
Motion made to adopt the resolution by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item C, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2017-56, assessing delinquent sewer service fees to property taxes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Blanc of Public Works and Solid Waste. This is our annual assessment of fees for those folks who have sewer in which they are to pay connection fees, and those that have not, then we end up assessing those fees, those unpaid fees, to their property taxes. So if there's any questions regarding this, I would be happy to try to answer them.
Questions for Mr. Blanc?
I don't have any questions. I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item D, Corrections. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C 337, 2017, amendment to Contract C 289, 2004, with Aramark for Food Services, incorporating an adjustment to the per meal cost grid in line with the projected consumer price indices for the products purchased.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. This is an annual renewal of this contract when it comes to the food services for our offenders at the Shawnee County Department of Corrections, both adult and juvenile. This increase is based off the Consumer Price Index for food and groceries. That this money, we expected this increase. It was both budgeted for this year, for the remainder of this year, and next year. We have negotiated this very carefully, and we sent it to the County Council's Office for Legality and Form, and we're here to ask for your permission, and I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Questions for Brian?
I do not have any. I move approval of the
Second.
contract.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Next item, please.
Item E, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of a proposed project budget of $88,400 for improvements at Little Oakland Park and authorization to solicit requests for proposals for lighting in the park.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. Just to provide you a little bit more detail, this project budget that's before you includes a column for sort money, and just to remind the commissioners, that is an area, both those and an empowerment grants, that's largely controlled by the city of Topeka. The neighborhood associations visit with us, apply to us to put certain improvements in, and then the vast majority of that work then is in the city of Topeka's hands, the bidding of the project, the construction of the project, construction oversight, all of those type of things. But this project budget does include some other things in there. While we're in the park, we want to refresh that park and bring that park up to our current park maintenance standards. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
So we work with City of Topeka Neighborhood Relations on this project?
Yes. Yes.
Correct.
And generally, the Neighborhood Relations works close with the NIAs and the NAs in those areas to apply for federal grants that offset some of those SORT funds. But once those SORT funds are approved, it's pretty much out of our hands once we've said, yes, you can put this in our park. We control where it goes, but then after that, the City of Topeka handles that.
Bonus question, what does SORT stand for?
It is...
I'll make a motion
I do not know.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Sorry.
Other questions for John?
A second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Number 2, consider approval of a proposed project budget of $689,660.85 for improvements, renovations at Hillcrest Community Center Park, placement of TMTA bus shelters in Gage Park, placement of TMTA bike rack in Edgewood Park, new equipment in the Blaisdell Family Aquatic Center, repainting of the pool basin in the Garfield Family Aquatic Center, and placement of high-definition cameras at the Garfield Community Center.
Commissioners, this is several preliminary project budgets. The clerk just identified several of those projects. I outlined them in my email as well. The most significant one is the Hillcrest Community Center. Since we've merged, we have done very little in any of our community centers. Hillcrest is the one that staff has looked at through our user statistics and potential for growth as to one of the ones that we should move forward on first. I've visited with Betty Greiner in detail and be happy to answer any other questions about either the Hillcrest Center or any of the other projects. I will say that these are preliminary budgets. We intend to have public engagement on several of these, especially the Hillcrest Center, so the people in the neighborhood and surrounding areas there are part of the major improvements that we're getting ready to make there.
This is a significant investment in Hillcrest. Do you have some thoughts on it, Commissioner Cook?
You know, Commissioners, there's often a lot of, you'll see just criticism on Facebook, and of course on Facebook everybody becomes an expert, but just that there's no investment into East Topeka, and that's just not the case. This is another example of the Commission investing into East Topeka through the Hillcrest Community Center, when we also do the investment into the Washburn Tech East Campus, the Garfield pools, all of the investments, and it really is the Parks and Rec does maintain that balance of looking at their 4 quadrants and making sure we have a balanced approach. And so this is a significant improvement or investiture, and it's needed at this time.
And I would like to compliment Commissioner Cook for being a champion on investments in the Hillcrest and the East Topeka Learning Center and the other areas of East Topeka. Congratulations on your commitment.
I will say that Susan Hensler and other staff in our Recreation Division have already reached out to the East Topeka Learning Center, and going to try to work as much as we can cooperatively. I know that there's a certain age segment that they're going to take care of. Maybe we can take care of some younger age ones and help prime those and work on that momentum.
Excellent, excellent.
Question.
Yes, Commissioner Bueller.
John, you touched on it a little bit, but we have several community centers. So the reason we are starting with this one is why.
It was the one that's in most need. It's also one that is significantly used, and we've also kind of identified that the growth potential there is good.
Because I think people are passionate about their community centers and they want that same investment. So I think we're starting down that road. So that expectation is going to be that we are going to invest in the other community centers as well. Is that going to be the case?
I would not necessarily. If you'll recall, some of the community centers are heavily used, some are not as heavily used. Over time, there's been some different dynamics. Demographics have changed around some of those community centers. In fact, our advisory board recommended that they do a comprehensive look at the community centers, and I will bring that formally to you, but recommend that we do a formal look at that. But regardless, Hillcrest was one of them that was going to need to be done and was going to be recommended to be done.
Good. Thanks for touching on that.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Yes.
I might also note that Parks and Rec has really worked hard after the master plan to identify partnerships, and I'm working with partners.
Yes.
We have the East Topeka Senior Center at Rice Community Center. We have the Topeka Bicycle Project at the Oakland Community Center, Boys and Girls Club at both the Velma Paris and the Abbott Community Center. I know that we have outreach groups with the Central Park Community Central. And so we're looking at those partnerships and developing them as we are able to.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Number 3, consider authorization and execution of contract C-338, 2017 with Mahia Construction for the removal of existing disc golf tee pads and new construction of disc golf tee pads at Crestview Disc Golf Course, an amount of $8,988 with funding from the Capital Maintenance Fund.
Commissioners, if you'll recall, a few months back, we had a contract in front of you. As Commissioner Cook just mentioned, partnerships that we're working on. We signed a major partnership with the Donda Disc Golf Club. They began raising funds for replacing baskets and some of the other type of features. Part of that was that we would begin to address some of the infrastructure that we already had in place, and that's what you have in front of you here. We went out for bid, recommend this contract that's before you to replace the broken tee pads, so to speak. I know that makes a real golfer kind of cringe, but they're tee pads for Frisbee golf, and replace those and replace them with new. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Questions regarding this contract? Mr. Knight?
Second.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item, please.
Item F, Sheriff's Office. Number 1, acknowledge receipt of correspondence from Sheriff Jones regarding the sole source purchase of software that provides license plate reader information collected nationwide to include private and commercial vehicles at a cost of $9,995 for 1 year with funding from the 2017 budget.
Good morning, Commission. Herman Jones, Shawnee County Sheriff there. What you have here is basically just an investigative tool that we can use when we can tap into databases that are other users across the United States, particularly when we have looking for vehicles, say stolen vehicles or so, when they're known to be in other parts of the community or coming through traversing through our community right there. It gives us an alert and we get that information. So basically it just allows us to tap into a database what this is. Any questions?
Questions for the sheriff?
I have no questions on the to acknowledge receipt.
Second.
Motion made to acknowledge receipt by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you for coming this morning, Sheriff.
Appreciate it.
It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Administrative Communications.
Administrative Communications.
Commissioners, Tom Black, once again, Public Works and Solid Waste. Just a last reminder that this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the electronic recycling event that will be held at the Kansas Expo Center parking lot. And again, that's free of charge for most everything that has a cord or runs on batteries. We will be collecting those. The only thing that has a nominal fee will basically be CRT televisions or monitors, a cathode ray tube. Those are the older televisions for the most part, but those do have a fee that comes along with them due to the disposal costs of some of the materials inside of them. So the more the merrier on this one. Thank you.
Very good. That's well attended. Other items, or other for administrative communications. I see Matt Pavarnik in the office, and we'll note that he's been AWOL from these meetings for a few months, and would like for him to come up and bring us up to speed on what's going on in economic development.
Thank you for
in Shawnee
pointing.
County.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, sir.
And that's why I'm here. I actually said to my team, I said, you know, it's been a while since I've seen my county commissioners in action. I'm going to run over there. I'll be back by 9:30. So, but I do want to say that today was good for me because that's a new understanding of just the issues that you guys grapple with and that you deal with. And I do have to say that also that the folks that came to speak, I was just very inspired by the decorum and the politeness of what's obviously a big issue and an emotional issue. So I learned a little. I have a new respect for some of the things that you all deal with. I thought it was all just about the things that I was working on. A couple things that I would like to mention, though, is tomorrow morning, Sheriff Jones and Chief Kramer are going to be at the Heartland Visioning meeting, and the topic that they're going to talk about tomorrow is public safety, and then we're going to have an open community dialogue that's going to be facilitated by Barry Feeker, and so we would be tone deaf if we weren't having these conversations in our community right now. So I'd like to thank Sheriff Jones and Chief Kramer for taking time out so that the entire community can come and hear from them and have that dialogue. Heartland Visioning meetings are open to anybody that wants to come, and they are an opportunity for our community to show up and have a dialogue and have input into economic development issues. I do want to mention that the Greater Topeka Partnership, the organizational development of the Greater Topeka Partnership is progressing. We're not there yet. We still have a lot of work to do. The complexities of taking multiple organizations and making sure that they're working as one team there's just a lot of work to do there. So we did have a great event earlier this week, the State of the Education Address. It was our first inaugural. We had all 6 Shawnee County superintendents that were there. We packed out the Topeka Civic Theater, and that will be something that we'll do going forward, and I will tell you our superintendents are definitely very much appreciative of that opportunity. Momentum 2022, although is supposed to be implemented 2018 through 2022, implementation has begun. There are multiple work groups that are just have almost overrun our offices. There's a group that is working on a set of metrics. I think that they'll be making a recommendation on what our metrics should be very, very soon. We want to be very open and public about our metrics. And then fundraising for Momentum 2022 is going quite well. We are a little bit over $3.5 million to our $6.3 million goal. At the end of this month, we're taking a group of community leaders to Phoenix, doing something a little different, replacing our inner city visit with going to a conference called CEOs for Cities. It's an opportunity for us to really take our community leaders and learn from other cities. Instead of visiting one city, we're going to go and visit 56 cities, because there will be 56 cities that will be represented at this conference. One of the things that we're going to do that's going to be a little unique is on the first night, we're actually reaching out to 10 cities that we normally would consider doing an inner city visit, and we're going to host some small meetings with these 10 cities so that we can have 10 mini inner city visits and then come back together and share what we've learned and share those best practices. I've mentioned before that Go Topeka is undergoing a process called AEDO. That stands for Accredited Economic Development Organization. We are going through that process right now. It's a lengthy and difficult process, so I do ask that you pray for us as we go through it. We'll actually have examiners coming in, and it could be that this is the first time we've actually ever applied for accreditation, and it could be that in the first time we don't actually actually receive accreditation, but the great thing is that if we don't receive accreditation, we'll receive all of the feedback and the instructions on how to become accredited. We will keep you posted as we navigate through that process. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention very quickly is just some economic development activity, business retention and expansion. We actually have 13 active projects, active expansion projects that we're working on right now. And a couple of significance. I don't think Jackie wants me to go into a lot of details on those, but we have a couple that are really close and that we're excited about. From a business attraction standpoint, we have 24 active projects that we're working on, and a couple of those are big, and one is Project Spartan. And Project Spartan, we're very excited because I think the last time I was here, I reported we were either one of 5 or one of 7 communities being considered. We're one of 2 communities being considered, and this is probably one of the bigger economic development deals that Topeka would have ever seen. Project Ribeye is another one that we've mentioned, that we were one of 7. We're still one of 7, and we don't know where we are in that list of 7, so that one hasn't really moved. And then we had another site visit a few weeks ago. Sometimes we don't know who these companies are. They come in by code name. This one was called Project Laminate. It's a Japanese-owned company. It looks like they're looking at 50 to 60 employees to start, and they would grow by 50 to 60 each year. Great salaries for us. We still don't know who the company is. Molly might, but I don't. She doesn't tell me some of this stuff because she's afraid I'm going to stand up here and then tell you. So, but I just want to thank you all, our elected leaders, for the work that you do. I spend time with you, and I see how much you care about the things that I say grace over, but then to see you engaging in all these other issues, you're great leaders for our community, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I'm sorry I caught you flat-footed. Very good report, and I hope we never have a project chicken feed. So, anyone else for administrative communications this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Fowler-Hensler, Parks and Rec. I just wanted to extend an invitation to an art exhibit up at the Shawnee North Community Center this Saturday from 2 to 4. Mary Lou Goodenkoff is an instructor that's worked with Parks and Rec for almost 30 years, and very talented group of artists that meet up there and paint, and this is their time to exhibit what they do. So you're welcome to join us along with the whole public from 2 to 4 up there. And then I might just mention, too, the article in the newspaper today. We have 2 young ladies from Landon Middle School who are giving a free ballet workshop from 9 to 3 at the Hillcrest Community Center. And these 2 girls, this isn't their first time they've done programs for us up there. So energetic, and the kids in the community are loving going and learning a few dance steps, and have even put on a little recital for their parents. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Bueller?
Well, also on the front page, there was a feature of Barry Feeker and the rescue mission going and saying thank you to the dispatch center. And so I'm going to say thank you to Barry Feeker for taking the time to do that. So he's just an unbelievable leader in our community, but he also says thank you. So
yes,
that's good.
Yeah, that's very good. Commissioner Cook?
Nothing else today.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Commissioner. It was important that Barry Feeker went, and it's important that we realize the progress that we've made in our dispatch center. That has been pretty dramatic over the past 6 months to a year, and so I'd like to recognize that also. Next item, please.
Executive session?
There's not a need, so we're officially adjourned. Thank you for coming. Have a good weekend, everyone.